Good morning, it's Richard Triggs from Arete Executive, and today I'm joined by Andrew Leitch, and we're going to be having a chat about a really fantastic tour that he does for senior executives and other interested parties out into Central Australia. Andrew is a coach, and he's been running this tour for many years and has a lot of experience in this space. And so we're really excited that Arete Executive are offering our support of Andrew in promoting this retreat. And I'm going to have a chat to Andrew today to give people a better sense of what they're in store for if they choose to participate. And then Andrew will talk about how you can become involved if you'd like to. So Andrew, thanks for joining me, and I hope you're having a nice day down on the Gold Coast.
Thank you, Richard, and thanks for the opportunity to talk about this. I appreciate it.
No worries at all. Okay, so Andrew, as part of the Arete philosophy of helping heroes to realise their full potential, we have a range of bespoke professional development opportunities, and it's great to include you with that now. You and I have known each other for many years, but perhaps for the people who are watching this, can you start by just giving a bit of an idea about your background and the kind of work that you do in general before we talk about the specifics of the tour that you're running?
Sure. Thank you, Richard. So I guess my background is quite varied. I started out my professional life as a dancer and was a dancer for about 17 years, traveling the world, and enjoyed that. And then my partner and I came back to Australia and opened several businesses in the health and wellness industry, specifically Pilates studios. During that time, I decided that I wanted to study psychotherapy. It had always been something that had interested me. After 5 years of study, I started practicing and wasn't really sure where that was going to lead. And what ended up happening was a lot of business people started coming to see me to understand more about themselves and to work out ways of becoming more empowered and more purposeful. Which led to the creation of the business that I now have, which is called True to You Evolutionary Intelligence. So we offer support to individuals and small to medium-sized businesses, really helping people at the individual level within the business to become empowered, get clear around their purpose. We use mindfulness as a tool, which creates a different culture. So we really help people create conscious change within their business or working with individuals on an individual level. I think that's, in a nutshell, what I do at the moment.
Okay, great. And as somebody who's personally been coached by Andrew, I've found the experience incredibly rewarding, and I would recommend his broader coaching services to those people who may be interested in that. But today we're talking about a particular trip that you do, and you've got one coming up a little later in the year. So why don't you tell us about, the trip and what your motivations were for starting these trips and how long you've been running them, etc.
Right. Thank you. I guess when I came back to Australia after being away for 15 years, I had a sense that I hadn't really arrived back for many years. And one of my passions was always Indigenous wisdom throughout the world. So I've travelled to many different places trying to understand the wisdom that the Indigenous people have. So through a series of circumstances, I ended up meeting Frank Ansell, an elder and healer of the Arete people from Central Australia. And I went to spend 10 days out in the bush with him. And it really changed my life, changed my understanding of what Australia is. So we went to the East McDonald Range, east of Alice Springs, and spent 10 days in the bush. And I had a chance to understand the simplicity, yet the depth of wisdom and knowledge that our Indigenous people have. One of the things that motivated me was I asked Frank, where do they fit into today's society? And he said to me, we're done. We're out of here as a race of people. And that sent an electric charged through me to try and get as many people as I could out onto the land to experience both the land and Frank before that happened, because the truth is they are done, and the wisdom that they have, we need to incorporate into our daily lives, be it in our business world or our personal life. So that's what really motivated me to get these trips started. I've been doing them for the better part of 7 years now, and I try to do 3 a year through the winter months. It's a little too hot in the summer. So generally from early May through till the end of October.
Okay, great. And so for somebody who's thinking about coming along on one of these trips, what can they expect to get out of it, and give some sense of the itinerary?
Right, so we all fly into Alice Springs. They're 6 days in length, all up, counting the 2 days of travel. We spend an afternoon and evening in Alice Springs, staying at a hotel there, and then the next morning we take a 4-wheel drive out to the East McDonald Range. We head to a place called the Ross River Resort, which has a private campsite that we use, which is fantastic. It's about 6 kilometres from the homestead. So we really are out in the bush, but close enough to everything. If we need anything, we have easy access to it. The campsite is set up with little huts. Most people, funnily enough, start off in the huts, but end up sleeping under the stars, because the sky at night out there is something to behold. So to your question of what could people get out of it, I think, it operates on many different levels. I'm surprised always at the number of people that I come across that haven't been to Central Australia and experienced the difference in the land and the sense of the land out there. So that's one thing that people get out of it, is it may be their first opportunity to explore Central Australia. Now, if you add in Frank and the work that Frank does on top of that, the overwhelming experience that people have is a profound understanding of who they are, who they really are, and how that fits into the bigger picture. I'm constantly surprised at the variety of people that come and the shared experience that they have of really touching a part of them that they may not have been in contact with for a while. And this is done through simple processes with humour and generosity from Frank's part, which I think is important as well.
And over the course of the 4 days or so that people are really there and in this process, do you follow a set itinerary, or is it pretty relaxed, or how are the days structured?
So it is pretty relaxed. Frank and I are very keen to tune into what people need on the trip. There's 4 or 5 places that are sacred to him and his people that we do visit. And we spend a lot of time also, just connecting as a group and starting to understand where each person's at and what they need. So there's generally a lot of healing that happens. That's Frank's specialty, is working with medicinal plants and energy. So that takes up some of the time. It's structured, but in an unstructured way, if that makes sense. So we really follow the energy of the group. There are certain places that we do take people, but it's essentially following the energy of the group.
Okay. And typically, what sort of people go along?
Look, again, I'm amazed at the variety of people that show up within each individual group. We have anything from leaders of business who live a very structured day-to-day life, who are really governed by their diaries, right through to people with a curiosity around this kind of work that may not be at that level. What I'm also surprised about is the cohesion that forms amongst the group very quickly. So within a couple of hours, the group is very tight. I think, when you ask what kind of people would come along, it's really people who are looking to understand themselves in a deeper way, possibly reconnect to themselves. A lot of people these days, due to the stress in our lives, different things pulling us in different directions, don't have a lot of time to reflect and just to be. So that's, I think, the main thing that people get out of it is a chance to switch off their phones, disconnect from the computer, spend 4 days of really uninterrupted reflection and being time. And as a result of that, profound shifts start to happen in people.
And what is generally the sort of mix between men and women and, the ages of people that come along?
Again, it's a very mixed group. I did do a men's group once, and that was great, but I've been more drawn to work with mixed groups. The mix of men and women would be 50-50. And the age group, I've taken people out there from 21 years old through to an American who was 85. So anyone who falls within that age bracket would probably get a lot out of it.
But predominantly, particularly my audience being C-suite executives and
Sure.
executives, they get a lot out of attending this.
Oh, absolutely. I've taken my work is in business and in businesses, and a lot of my clients have come. And the thing that I think they've appreciated the most is the time that they have, which I said is uninterrupted and really gives them a time to reflect on what's important and, what is it that they're trying to achieve. Sometimes that can get lost in amongst all the static of our day-to-day life. So it's a chance for busy people who you would be in contact with to really take some time out, reconnect to themselves, what's important, and enjoy the beauty of what is Central Australia.
Okay, fantastic. So perhaps just talk a little bit about the logistics, the dates, the cost, etc. now, before we close out.
Yeah. So the trip runs from the 1st until the 6th of October. So the 1st is the day that everyone flies into Alice Springs. We collect everyone from the airport, take them to the hotel. We have a dinner at the hotel that evening. And then we spend 4 days out in the East McDonnell Range. And then on the 6th, we drive back into Alice early enough for the first person to get their flight back to wherever they've come from. Generally, we arrive back around 11 when the first flights start leaving. So it is 6 days all up over a weekend, which helps people organise their time a bit better. The cost is $1,950, so $1,950. That includes everything once you've arrived in Alice Springs, so it's not inclusive of airfares. I think that's pretty much the logistics.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Well, look, for those people watching this, whilst I personally haven't done this trip, and I would love to have gone this time, but unfortunately I'm away presenting it at a conference, so I'll be hopefully attending next year. But I know many people who have done this trip with Andrew. The feedback is always superb. Literally, for people, can be a life-changing experience. I know in terms of my own work with Andrew as a coach, and also from the people I know who have been coached by Andrew, I've received tremendous benefit. And so I feel very comfortable in really supporting Andrew and promoting this opportunity. So if anybody is interested in talking to Andrew about this or learning more about it, there'll be a web link that you can follow to go to Andrew's landing page for the trip. And I'm sure that if you want to talk to Andrew and give him a call and ask any personal questions about your own circumstances, he'd be more than happy to take the call, and we'll make that number available as well. So, Andrew, thanks very much. Really appreciate your time today. Good luck with the trip, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Richard. And just a reminder to anyone who sees this and does choose to come, if you find your way to me through this medium, please mention that you've come through this. We always like to acknowledge source. And thank you, Richard, for the time.
No worries. All right. Well, have a great day and talk soon.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.